was one of those peas where he got there and he started peeing. He's like, "Oh no, I have to poop."
Possibly.
I returned. I'm back. Sorry.
Oh, there we go.
Fucking got lost on the way to the fucking
Called it.
bathroom. We have way too many rooms in this fucking tavern at this point.
See, Polnareff side quest right there.
That's a Zoro side quest right there, huh, Toasty?
Lost as fuck.
Lost as fuck. I ended up in Attack on Titan universe for a
Yeah.
second there.
Like, who the
All
fuck is Levi Ackerman?
right. I found him. He's right here. His name's Gerald.
Oh my god.
That's a short joke.
Oh damn it.
All right. So yes. Anyway, so Durthu, back to the Oak of Ages concept. Durthu was like, yeah, there's probably gonna be a second Oak of Ages if we continue this. And as much as Durthu like admired Asteriel for what she was doing, he was also a fucking pretty awesome wingman. Like I'm pretty sure if anything, he was probably her maid of honor. Because Asteriel, like he liked Asteriel. Like Durthu liked Asteriel, but he also liked Anarian. Like he saw Anarian, which is Asteriel's husband, and to clarify, Anarian is the fucking first Phoenix King. He is the fucking most goated fucking elf ever. Like he's better than Eltharion. Like yeah, Eltharian's cool. So, like he's fucking elf Batman. But Anarian fucking fought four greater demons at once and won. Fuck you.
Fucking plot armor.
No, he's just that guy. Fuck you.
They're like, demons can die and come back, but this guy, he can't. If he dies, he's gone.
If he dies, all elves probably will die. He's the only one holding them all together.
Good riddance.
That's again. I have never related to anyone more than Anarian when I'm playing Total War Warhammer 3 and I'm playing High Elves and it's round fucking 200 and everyone is dying to chaos and it's just fucking me. Nothing. Oh god, fucking pisses me off. But yes, so El Dufu did actually really like an Aryan, and an Aryan. Sorry, so an Aryan was a prince of Nagarith, which is like the province. It's the kingdom directly north of Avalorn. So like not only are these two like a prince and a queen, but they're like fucking neighbors, which I think is hilarious and so cute. That like fucking these neighboring kingdoms are fucking in love. Too bad their whole fucking story goes to shit when chaos shows up.
Big dub for chaos as usual.
Big dub for chaos. Oh, and I should also mention, not only was Durthu an awesome wingman and probably amazing maid of honor, but he was also the godparent to Anarian and Asteriel's babies.
What a cute bitch.
Yeah, so Asteriel and Anarian had they had kids, and their kids were a set of twins, which were Marillion and Yvrain, if I can remember off the top of my head.
Are you
And
sure it's your brain?
I was gonna
yes,
say
it
that
is
sounds like
Yvrain.
a grim dark future elf.
No, her name is Yvrain.
Well, they had to get it from somewhere, guys.
Not the
Like,
first time Warhammer's ripped itself off.
Yeah,
I was gonna say it's
I'm more annoyed at Marillion's name. Completely honestly, like the Marillion name annoys me because fucking like Malekith becomes Malarian, fucking bitch.
bitch.
I don't know. There's fucking something about Malekith renaming himself Malarian because GW told him to. That fucking just makes me want to call him a bitch. Like fuck, don't stoop to fucking capitalism, Malekith. You are better than this.
No, he's not. He's an
No,
elf.
Only
no,
one
he's
name can
not.
be
He is
copyrighted.
definitely not better. I have no idea why I expect anything good or even nothing morally good from him in any way, shape, or form.
Nor
Uh,
should you.
no, obviously not. Now, as happy as things were at this point, Durthu's making a hammock with his claws for the babies, and Anarian and Asteriel are fucking like crazy because of course they are. It's a fucking for reference. Asteriel is the Ever Queen, right? She's a queen. Every other noble in Ulthuan is a prince. Like they don't have the Phoenix King yet. And Aaron was the first one. He only became the Phoenix King when he became the Avatar of Asterion, right? So they only have the Ever Queen. And if you guys don't know, the Ever Queen is basically the Pope if the Pope was a hippie and preached fertility.
That's
Hell yeah.
right. She was like rabbits, one every 10 years.
It's better than one every century, I'll tell you that.
Utterly ridiculous.
And up them numbers.
Look, okay, you know what? You know what's hilarious? There was at one point millions of dead elves. Like, and this
The
wasn't
good
even
old
like
days.
Chaos Invasion. There was a Battle of the Elves fought in where millions of them died. The fact that I'm saying millions of elves died is fucking ridiculous. I can't even comprehend there being a million elves, let alone millions of dead elves.
Well, you can thank Nagaroth for the rising elf population.
Can okay, whatever you say. Yeah, sure, sure. The reason we had a civil war was to improve our fucking population crisis. Sure, whatever you say.
Maybe not yours, but ours worked out fine.
Fuck off.
There's enough
He's right.
assassinations and poisonings to keep Nagaroth in check.
Fucking hate that he's right. Um. So yeah, so Asteria, like the Ever Queen's goal is that she is the living avatar of Isha, so the elven god of light. And so she performs this yearly ritual that is basically like a fertility ritual to basically promote elf procreation and just like the general life and growth of elven babies. And as well as like maintaining the seasons and ensuring that a lot of natural energy, specifically life energy and light energy, and those forms and those winds of magic. They didn't have the winds of magic, but those specific magical energies are like flowing properly throughout all of Ulthuan. And like in a way, she also controls the passing of the seasons, not in like a I can say when it's summer, I can say when it's fall, but more in a sense that through her rituals and her involvement in the seasonal transition can actually make the transition a lot smoother and beneficial. Like if she wasn't performing these rituals, the shift between like summer and fall would be a lot more sudden and a lot more I guess like aggressive is the best way to put it. Like imagine it being like, oh, it's summer and then it's like fucking aggressively fall. Like it's suddenly and aggressively fall.
Well, that's what happens when you pump aluminum into the sky, Alario. Maybe you'll learn next time. Just quit messing with the ecosystem.
That's what she's doing. She's plotting with Dirthu to control the ozone layer.
Correct. It's all a conspiracy. It would be totally fine if both the tree hippies and the high elves were involved.
Oh my god, it's fucking Uthwan Gate.
Zulpon Gate, yes.
Oh my goodness. But outside of the occasional fucking between Anarian and Astariel, the polar gates collapsed. I like to imagine just during the situation. And as a result of the polar gates collapsing, the old ones decided to say, fuck this shit, I'm out, and ended up leaving the material world while the corruptive magics of chaos like flooded across the entire planet. Naturally, Uthwan became the target of demonic invasion from multiple demonic invasions, honestly, as the forces of all four chaos gods laid siege to the island nation for the next century. Like for an entire century, Uthwan was being invaded by chaos. You had generations of elves being born and raised under chaos, under like chaos siege.
Well, honestly, it made the elves worth something. A little bit of struggle never hurt anyone. Except for those who it does, but don't worry about them. They weren't important.
Ah, yes, because the old ones never know struggle. They fucking dipped the second any opposition showed up.
Exactly, and look where it got them.
Fucking extinct in the
Safe
41st
somewhere. You guys
millennium.
don't even know.
Starving in space.
Starving in space is right. Now,
That's
in
just
the
the lizard
resulting
people.
chaos, Anarion, who was a priest of Assyrian, basically rose up and began gathering armies to defend Uthwan. Specifically, when he took on the aspect of Assyrian by throwing everything of value into the fire of Assyrian before himself. Like I think he throws in his crown first, and then the lore of Assyrian, like or not his lore, but like a symbol of Assyrian, and then he throws himself in. Like he's like, I'll sacrifice my kingdom to save my people. That doesn't work. Al,
Imagine he didn't think it through right, and he throws a Lariel in there first.
get over
Do what
here.
I care about most, dear.
You know what? You're right. Why do you throw himself in? I don't know. Maybe an Aryan isn't as good as we think he is. An Aryan takedown piece incoming.
Fantastic. I've
But yeah.
corrupted the High Elf.
No, I could
To
never
be
see the
fair, you
guild of an
didn't have that
Aryan.
much hard work to do.
I'm an anarchist that's secretly a feudalist. But yeah, so Anarian became the aspect of Assyrian, and basically he took up the fight along his homeland of Nagarath. So he basically mobilized everyone in the northern kingdom to basically just fight and hold off against chaos invasions from the north. And I feel this tremendously right now in my Total Warhammer playthrough right now. As for Assyrian, not Assyrian, Anarian's wife, Astariel, she decided, you know what? I'm gonna be a stay-at-home mom, and I'm gonna go home. Ugh.
It's all equal rights until then we ask it to be equal fights, and then all of a sudden they start changing their tune.
Oh my goodness. All right. So, as for Anarian going on his chaos spree, Astariel goes home. Because chaos, obviously. uh, so how do I want to put this? How do I want to word this? So Astariel, basically she returns to Avalon, right? And this is where Durthu and the Forest Spirits are. Because of how strong the life magics are in Avalorn, like just from everything that they've been taught by the tree spirits. Um, Avalon was basically protected by anti-chaos like charms, basically, and wards. Like it was almost like the kingdom itself was like charmed against chaos.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So they have all the plot armor in the world until all of a sudden it's inconvenient for them to be immune to chaos.
Well, it's not plot armor because like the real plot armor comes with the four spirits themselves. But Durthu, because he was a friend to Asteriel, basically joined her and leaded his four spirits in defending Avalorn because like yeah, Avalorn was charmed against chaos. Like that doesn't mean that chaos still wasn't able to attack it. So like Durthu would lead armies of four spirits and elves to protect Avalorn. And the problem with this though is Durthu was kind of seen as how do I put this? Um not a race traitor, but um because Durthu didn't go back to Athol Loren and stayed in Avalorn to defend it, he was kind of seen like people didn't like him. Other tree lords did not like him already because of how much of an outsider he was when it came to wandering the world. But now he was ditching their home to defend outsiders in their homeland. It just like reeked of like treachery in a way, and it made a lot of his fellow tree lords see him differently. And it actually led to most of the forest spirits that served Durthu being like quietly exiled. Like a lot of them weren't able to travel along the world routes to get back to Athel So those guys are a little bit of assholes.
There is a tree conspiracy afoot.
Fucking hell. You aren't wrong. Fucking Athel Gate, more like. Now, you know what's really funny though about the tree beards being all pissed off about at Durthu? Well, at
What
least I
might
find
that
it
be?
funny. So because all of the forest spirits were pissed off at Durthu for leaving, the funny thing is that Athel Loren and most of the forests in Elfin Aryan, wow, fucking that pronunciation, Elfin Aryan, these forests, because they were charmed the same way as Avalon's forests, they were like super charmed. Basically, when chaos passed over the known world, the demonic forces did not invade the forest like the living forests. And instead, they actually never breached them entirely. Instead, they just moved around their borders. And it was very weird. It was basically like chaos. It was basically like water over rock. It would wash around the forest. It wouldn't even enter it. And the reason why is really interesting because the demonic hosts, they view the forest spirits as basically kin, that they were not too dissimilar from themselves, and in a way actually feared overstepping themselves and entering the territory of the forest spirits.
First time that
So,
demons regarded rules of anyone.
yeah. Basically, the demons feared the great forest spirits, and were like, "Yep, those are demons. Those are probably demons, just like us." Like, imagine like an army of demons just like circling the border of a forest, like being scared to fucking go in.
Honestly, I'd like to see it.
I mean, it'd be pretty fun at least.
They
The
weren't
thing was,
scared. They just didn't feel like dealing with the trees. Okay.
Sure.
sure. It I want to I really want to emphasize this, okay? In the fucking army book, it straight up says the demons feared the forest spirits, viewing them as not too dissimilar from themselves. Exact quote.
Propaganda.
The Now you can say that's propaganda, but when the fucking well, you know what, the army book probably has the most propaganda for the faction in itself. So you know what, I don't know what the fuck I'm saying.
The
Cope.
lies.
I'm honestly pretty sure the high elf army book for Old World literally like glosses over the War of the Beard as not our fault.
Like
Well,
it
it
happened.
wasn't.
It was an accident.
Honestly,
Like
I mean, it's just a beard.
like I was looking at the fucking army book and I was reading and I got to the War of the Beard and it was just like, yeah, it wasn't our fault. Dwarves attacked us. Oh man, we were really
Dicks.
just we could have won. We really could have won. But Malekith was gonna invade, so we signed a peace treaty, and like in the end, it wasn't even like it was fine. We just like we didn't even like really lose that badly, and we set up garrisons all across the world anyway. So like yeah, like we really could have won, but we just chose like it was so funny because I'm just like, I know how the word of the beard goes. And like, okay, I can be an arrogant elf simp, but this is fucking not even this is just glossing over it.
Nonsense. I have my straight razor ready for the next one.
Don't like. I'm pretty sure it defends Killador the Second as like Killador the Deceived or something, or that he was like it paints him in a way that is hilarious because I'm pretty sure he was the worst Phoenix King. Fucking bitch.
I reiterate a quote I mentioned from the dwarf episode. You know you done good when your own elves say you were the worst king.
Yeah. Like I just find the fact the army book like justifies him and like defends him as a tragic hero is so hilarious.
Better double
But
check your warpstone stash. Make sure there's is not full of copium.
yeah, I know, right?
Plenty of
Um,
copium for high elves.
all right. But now I do want to mention though is that demons they okay, how do I put this? They would invade the forest and they would like make strides into invading it, but for them it wasn't like them invading a city where they would just smash themselves against the walls, climb over them World War Z style, and then like bulldoze their way through. No, for the forests, they would like creep their way in. They would only enter the forests when the outskirts were corrupted by chaos, which was occurring very like while the entire world was overtaken by chaos, the forests had to be slowly like over the course of years slowly whittled down as chaos crept its way inwards. And one of the funniest things in that happens during this event is there's an event where there's a bunch of dryads and forest spirits having like a celebration, like a tea party, basically. And out of nowhere, a whole bunch of demons come in and just start murdering them, like ripping them apart, killing them because they're like that desperate to kill them because they want to like invade the forest now. And what happens is only half of the celebration is killed. The other half is fine because the chaos hasn't corrupted that far in and they just continue with the celebration while on the other half of it is their people are being slaughtered and murdered and they're just paying no attention to it and actually like move the trees and the groves in the way so you don't have to see or hear it because in their mind because like it's they're like we're safe here, we're fine, whatever. So that's the trees mentality. That's the fucking forest of Athaloran for anyone who's interested.
Trash.
Trash. So like I just find this funny though that Durthu was being punished because like Ivorlorn's forests are not the great forest. They're getting fucking ran through by fucking chaos and shit like that. And so yeah, though the forests of Avalon were protected by the same energies, just not to the same extent. But where they were protected by those energies, they were protected by Anarian and his big, fat, massive elf army. You thought I was gonna say penis, didn't you?
No high elf has anything like that.
I don't know. I mean,
No comment.
the thing was though is that while an Aryan was a great fighter, he couldn't be everywhere at once. And the problem was one of the places he needed to be was Averlorn. Because a massive chaos invasion basically he was achieving so many victories he had pushed chaos to the edge of Uthwan's coasts and actually like drove them off the coast. The problem was that chaos used this opportunity to send a second force around his army, push through the mountains into the inner kingdoms and attacked Averlorn, which is one of the inner kingdoms. And this was devastating because it was basically a shock to every single elf in Averlorn. Because, like, yeah, while everyone was attacked, they had never had a full on chaos invasion, like a full invasion of Averlorn. And this was devastating with the amount of death that occurred. I think this one was one of the tens of thousands of elven deaths, which is like again, that's a lot of fucking dead elves. Um, but it also led to like the mass destruction of massive portions of the gardens of Averlorn. And it also was a wake up call to Asariel and her children that nowhere is safe. Like they thought that the Force of Avalon would protect them, and they were fucking wrong. Now, luckily, while Avalon was being invaded, let's just say Asteriel is like a level 20 life cleric, and Durthu is just a really pissed off tree So they did an excellent job at clearing out the chaos demons that were invading Averlord. But the problem is that this did shake them entirely, especially Asteriel, because her kids almost died. And the thing about the Everqueen, that position is hereditary. So her daughter Ivrain has to become the next Everqueen because only she can perform the rituals that, keep the cycle of the seasons in order, maintain elf fertility, and just improve the overall quality of life for all elves in general. So if you bring okay, Malarian, not Malarian, Marillion can die, it's whatever. He's a fucking ideally you don't want either of your kids to die. But between the two, Marillion is the most expendable. I'm just fucking saying. But if Rain cannot be sacrificed, because again, if she dies, it could mean the end of all the elves. And so this is where Asteriel went to Durthu, her friend, and asked him a very simple favor: save my children. Use the world roots and get my children out of here. Avralorn is not safe. But she knew that using the world roots, the demons could not find Durthu, and by extension, her children. So she told her friend, her best friend, her friend of literal centuries, to take her children and leave Uthwan. Don't even fight, just run, just keep running until the war is over, if it ever ends. That's all she asked of Durthu, and Durthu looked at her and was not upset. He wasn't angry. He just told her that
I'm
them
disappointed in
dying to
you.
chaos might be a better fate. Consider that. Treebeard said it's probably better for your kids to die to chaos than me save them. And
That's
the
kind of
reason
crazy.
behind this is because Durthu knew above all the other tree lords, most of all, that the forest of life, the great forest, Athel Loren, was based on the cyclical exchange of life and death. That in order for something to live, something had to be taken away from someone else, that a price needed to be paid. And to give the children sanctuary, even whether it's indirectly, whether it's not even even if the forest isn't aware that it's sheltering sheltering the twins, a price needs to be paid at some point because the forest you can only the only way to get something is to pay something back. It's almost very eldritch in nature. It's very much almost Cthulian in nature where you're making pacts with the devil in a way. And Durthu straight up told Asteriel, would you be willing to save your two children, but you cost the lives of all your people? And Asteriel was shocked, what do you mean? Is that really the price I would have to pay? And Dorothy said that in order to protect her children, the forest would need to take back elven lives at some point. It wouldn't be now. It wouldn't be tomorrow. It wouldn't be even 100 years. It could be thousands of years in the future. But the forest will get its elven life.
Good.
Now, roundtable discussion. What do you think Asteriel did in this moment? And what would you have done if you were her in this moment?
I wouldn't have got us stuck in a shitty situation like this.
We wouldn't be here. I would out of the question. We wouldn't even be here. I wouldn't even got us in this situation.
Should just kept on chopping the trees and turn them into firewood and ships.
Yeah, we needed a bigger fleet. That was our problem.
Poison the world root for having this shithead give us an ultimatum. Just fucking
Oh
take them
my
and not
god.
cost their lives, asshole.
I'm gonna take up smoking just to fuck over the world roots. So
Fucking
who? All
shithead,
right.
have borax.
Would any of you outside Toasty, because he wouldn't have gotten this situation, would any of you guys have agreed to Dirthu's offer? Would you have given your kids, saved your kids, but aware that at some point in the future, a lot of elves are probably going to go missing?
Uh, here's a good question. Uh, for me, it's a lot less hard of a choice. I'd let them little fuckers die. But
Just let those fuckers die. Kill the
yeah, I
babies
mean,
and the thousand elves.
oh yeah, no, I wouldn't even worry about them. I'd just say, screw it. I don't need them then. Screw them kids. I can make more.
I have the means. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think Nakari would like to have a word with Asterial when this conversation's over. What are you, Gerald?
Shoot, I don't know. It's like telling the mountain spirits that he's going to feast upon dwarves or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, hey, you can have this vein of raw materials and ores, but at some point I'm gonna claim a bunch of dwarven lives.
Yeah, that's a bit of a hard sell.
Yeah. Now, luckily, Asteriel had a moral heart, and she was like, "Hey, I'm gonna need some time to consider this. Oh, what the hell?" And Durthu said that he can't talk to her, he can't help her until he has the answer, because by making that request of him, she had basically forged a contract with the Great Forest. And until she gave an answer, until the contract was complete, the request was made, she could not talk to him without risking unintentionally giving the answer.
Oh,
It
great.
was
And
it
you
was
and you call the Dark Elves devil worshippers.
I was going to say, that sounds like some Mephistopheles bullshit right there.
yeah, it's kind of like a genie. It's kind of like a genie slash monkey's paw thing where it's like, hey, stop. You said I wish. Think very carefully before you say any more. That's basically what Dorothy said. Hey, the next time we talk, you need to give me an answer, whether it's a yes or a no. And if it's a no, we cannot go through with this anymore. That's what Dorothy was basically giving her the ultimatum of. So because of that, she couldn't see her friend anymore until she gave an answer. So that poisoned the fucking well, which is shitty. And this led to Avalorn being attacked again because of course it was going to get attacked again, this time by Nakari of all people. So if you guys don't know who Nakari is, they are a servant of Slanesh, and they are one of
Of course. Of
yeah,
course.
They are a
they're one of
shithead.
Slanesh's greatest servants, one of their greatest servants and champions. And the thing about Nakari is they are known as is the great seductor or the great temptress. It's something along those lines. But they are one of the greatest keepers of secrets. And the thing about Nakari really likes elven souls. Obviously, Slanesh does as well. And the thing about Nakari is that they did not like Avalorn because it was basically like a big middle finger to chaos. But there was another thing about Avalorn that it really didn't like. And that was the fact specifically that Asteriel was there. And not even because Nakari had beef with Asteriel. Nakari had beef with Anarian, and Asteriel was his wife. And because of Nakari's temptation-esque viewpoints, Nakari wanted to kill Asteriel, not just to fuck with an Aryan, but because Nakari saw two options. If they successfully killed Asteriel, killed Anarian's wife, he would either become so overtaken by grief and anger that he would fall to chaos, that he would become a servant of chaos unintentionally, or he'd be so morally broken and overtaken by despair that he could not lead the elven armies in opposition against chaos any further. So like in the Kari's mind, this was a win-win. Like either he's joining us or he's surrendering. Either way, all I gotta do is kill his fucking wife. And this led to the invasion of the Palace of Avalorn, or I guess it was sieged first before it was invaded. But while the palace was being sieged, Asteriel met with Durthu in the gardens of the palace. And like think of the palace gardens kind of like the Weirwood Forest in Game of Thrones in Winterfell, where it's like a massive forest in this massive courtyard in the middle of a castle, right? That's basically what it was. And she met with him because that's where the world roots are. And as she went to see him, she had to give him an answer. And the moment she seen him, she immediately was like, "Oh no, fuck!" Because she went to him like, "I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna give him my kids so I can save my people." The second she sees Durthu, she immediately has second thoughts again, and at that same moment, the gates of the palace break down, and Nakari breaks into the palace gardens, and she sees all of her house guard, all of her kingdom's guard. So a bunch of elven warriors raising up their spears and shields to hold off Nakari and protect her. So not only does she now have, not only is her friend there waiting for an answer that she now has to give, that she was going to give until she was overtaken by her conscience, but now she literally is seeing her people, her elven people, her responsibility in her mind, dying to protect her when she was going to do the selfish desire of sacrificing her children, or not sacrificing her children, of securing her children, but sacrificing the elves. And Durthu basically tells her, "What is your answer? Like, if you tell me no, I can get my four spirits and we can fight and we can all die in like one glorious final stand." Like, he was basically giving her an out. But Asteriel, loving her children and seeing basically through, like she basically read the fine print and realized something very important, something very, very important. The forest will get its elves, right? The forest will get its elves. That means the elves will survive. So even if she has to sacrifice elves in the future, at the very least the elves will get to that future. Like at least they will live past this great disaster. So she kind of found a loophole, but she also paid a super super huge sacrifice, which was she gave her children to Durthu, never basically vowing to never see her children again, or her best friend, who now had to take her children and leave her. Like Durthu could not see Asteriel anymore and had to take her children across the world routes, meaning he couldn't even stay and defend her. While Nakari attacked and slaughtered a bunch of her household guards, and she had to fight him one on one and had to use all of her power to kill him, only to die at the very end. And this is what drove Anarian to go a little batshit insane and pick up the K God sword.
Finally, some context on that.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Now, ironically, Nakari didn't succeed because their goal was to twist to break Anarian and make him fall to chaos or to fall to despair. He decided to fall to Cain instead.
Arguably worse, but
As
Arguably
any as
worse.
any good God-fearing elf should.
So there you go. Gerald, you have the context for Anarian's story and why he fell to Cain. How are your
yes,
thoughts on that so far?
because you kind of left me on that cliffhanger like way back when we were talking about fucking Malekith in
Yeah,
episode 2.
yeah. I like to sprinkle breadcrumbs in.
Yeah, these breadcrumbs lasted us about 2 years now, so
I know you finally have your fucking answer.
Don't believe
So
him.
for
He didn't
anyone
think
who's
that
been with
far
us since
ahead.
the beginning, you guys now know what happened to Anarian's first wife and his two kids.
They fucking died.
Yeah, she fucking look. She went out like a fucking champ. I'm pretty sure the fight had the palace like razed to the ground. Like our ruler needs to be repaired after their fight. So like, but this would lead to Durthu bringing Ivrain and Marillion to basically the only place he could bring them, which was Athel Loren. The problem was, not only was Durthu like already ostracized, but he brought outsiders through the world routes to fucking Athel Loren. That's not okay. And so Durthu's, there were two other tree lords who both did not like what Durthu did, and were straight up going to kill the babies. Like when Durthu showed up, like Durthu, while he was traveling the world routes, was like mentally preparing arguments in his head. Like, all right, like have you ever had that where you're gonna argue, where you know you're gonna argue with someone, and you're like, I'm gonna mentally prepare myself. Like that's
Yeah,
what he was doing while he was crossing the world routes.
it's like going to work and you're getting yourself pre-mad because you know you're already gonna be mad at the stupidity of your coworkers.
Exactly. That's literally what it was. I was like, all right, I can maybe convince them that this is a good idea, that the elves will owe us, that we can maybe use them as our allies. And then like he gets back and they're like, we're gonna fucking kill those babies. How dare you do that, Dorothy? We should kill you too. And Dorothy's like, okay, hang on. Like, can we I did this, right? Like I got them here. They're here in the forest now. We have to repay the contract that we made effectively. And one of the tree spirits was like, just fucking ditch them. Like straight up leave them outside the forest. Like leave them outside the forest, chaos will do the rest. Another one was like, no, kill them so that so that their nutrients can return to the world and repay Athaloran for the time they spent there. Even if the time they spent there was fucking like 3 minutes. Like it's they're like, you've been here long enough, we're gonna kill you now to repay the time you spent here.
Fair.
Yes, literally fair. Luckily, however, oh, I should also fucking mention, Durthu was fucking aware of them chewing him out for not being there, but they were expanding. Like I should reference, like, yeah, Chaos was invading the Great Forest, but they were pushing back Chaos and counter invading. They were literally doing what the fucking Argonians were doing. They were counter invading Chaos. The forest grew during the Great Cataclysm.
Damn
Well,
histories.
well, it didn't grow. I shouldn't say it grew. Like it waxed and waned. Like some like where like instead of the forest expanding in every direction, some of it was pulled back, but other parts were pushed way further out than they had ever been before. So like they did expand, but they did also lose territory. It was like I should like make it more clear. I should like saying that they counter invaded makes it sound like they were fucking like succeeding on the high end, but like they did suffer some defeats. But eventually, however, they all kind of agreed that, okay, listen, this is not the time to be having this debate. Let's just focus on this. Now, Durthu was given an alternative. The children could stay in Athel-Loren, but they would be forever glamored to never wake up from a sleep as long as they were in Athel-Loren, and they would not remember anything of where they went. That was a condition. So the kids were just they basically were sleeping beauty. They were knocked unconscious. And for the entire time that they were asleep, Durthu must not stop fighting. So as long as the chaos was invading, Durthu had to lead the fight. And it was at that moment that Durthu realized something very, very upsetting. Durthu looked at his fellow forest spirits, and he looked at the chaos demons outside the forest, and he realized that the spirits that he would be fighting alongside were almost indistinguishable from the monsters they were going to be fighting against. That in Durthu's mind, they had become monsters to fight the monsters.
What was that thing about he who fights monsters? Be careful.
It, yeah. And it was at that moment that Durthu took on the aspect of a massive monster spirit and went to fucking town, murdering the fuck out of Chaos armies. Like I should mention, this wasn't like Durthu embracing like the monstrous nature. This was Durthu like, hey, if I'm gonna fight monsters, I'm gonna become a monster. But I'm not gonna lose myself like other spirits, because it's implied that that's why the Antwyeth for spirits were so malicious, was because they were the ones who fought chaos so extensively. Because if you guys remember, the chaos gates are in the North and South Pole, where it's freezing cold. And as chaos expands, the borders of the cold get closer and closer, get further and further south, or in this case, closer and closer to the equator, right? Basically, the vaults of winter are basically are parts of the forest that are scorched by chaos to such an extent that they are perpetually trapped in winter, just like how Norska is. And like I said, it's also why they're just so much because they fought them so extensively and so brutally. And this would basically be the period of silence following the vortex forming. Like the vortex formed and chaos was removed from the world, and this would begin a period of basically like silence and rebirth. But while the period of silence and rebirth was undergoing, Durthu had completed his task, right? He had saved, not saved, he had pushed back the chaos out of Athaloran, and he was finally able to fulfill his promise. He was able to bring the children, Ivrain and Marillion, back to Uthwan. But he didn't say goodbye. He didn't get the chance to say goodbye because by their oath, he could only save them and then he had to leave them. So he brought them to the forest groves of Averlorn and left both them there to be discovered by elven nobility, and he was only able to see them get picked up and taken away, not able to even say goodbye before he went back to Athaloran.
This is like Miriam and like Moses in the basket type of
Yeah,
shenanigans.
yeah, very much so. Very much so. And then it would not be for until I think another several thousand years before the story picks up again during the Sundering. No, Sundering is not several thousand years, several hundred years. But basically, following Anarian's death, the elves expand across the world. Some went to Nagorond, others went to the new world of Elfin Arian, right? Because they had begun expanding outwards because chaos was pushed back, and they wanted to rediscover what worlds were lost. This is where the elves made contact with the dwarves, with Malekith and Snorri, not Snorri. Um, fuck, Grimhildel with the White Dwarf. But yeah, they end up engaging.
Snorri.
Yeah, Snorri. Sorry. I was thinking of Snorri Nosebiter. I was like, it's not. It is Snorri, but it's not Snorri Nosebiter. Um, sorry. So yeah, they had that whole instance going on, and the elves were beginning to populate the new world of Elfenarion, right? And as this was going on, this was a period of expansion and colonization. And as they started pushing from the coast inland, these elves started to interact with the forest. Oh, also to clarify, another reason why Malekith could not become the Phoenix King, like this was just generally a really just generally good reason. The Phoenix King has to marry the Ever Queen.
Got to keep it in the family now.
Like that's just that makes so much more sense why Malekith could not become the Phoenix King, specifically because the Ever Queen has to marry it, and Yvraine would be his half sister. And I think because of the time that she spent like the time they spent asleep, they were technically like frozen in time. So I'm pretty sure Malekith ended it like older than her, like came out of it older than her, despite being born after her. So like it just makes it a lot more awkward. But yeah, just wanted to clarify that. Um, and yeah, the thing was that during this period of living in the in the old world, the elves immediately became aware of the forest and were immediately aware of the fact that like, okay, let's stay away from the forest because every couple months someone in our village goes missing. Like they just walk in and they're just never seen again. And this led to a point where one group of elves journeyed really far deep into the forests and came very close to what would be the true forest of Athaloren. And while they were there, um, they basically got as far as they could before they basically got too deep. And they're like, "Hey, three
Oh,
expeditions into Athaloren." And these are both hilarious and kind of fucked up because each expedition was 1,000 strong army of the most skilled and veteran soldiers of those specific regions. Now, the first expedition goes in, only to within a couple minutes immediately emerge out. But where there was once 1,000 elves going in, only 700 came out. The thing is, though, is that these 700 looked exhausted. They looked tired. They had 5 o'clock shadows going on. They were beaten. Their armor looked worn, but not dented or used. Like it looked like they were just walking. And that's when it's revealed that they were lost in the forest for weeks. That none of them died. Like no one, like out of the 300 the 300 that weren't there, they didn't die. They just disappeared. Like they disappeared over the course of nights marching or in their sleep, or just one person would like fall in a hole and they just would never see him again, or someone would just walk off the path, like break unit cohesion and just never be seen again. Like 300 of them just disappeared, not even died, just disappeared. The second expedition to go in did not come out. And the
okay.
final expedition.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they just went to go stop for Chinese and got lost.
And then the third and final expedition of 1,000 came out, but only one person came out. And it was a just random foot soldier woman, but she had been stripped naked, and her body was covered in lashes that tore away her flesh. And she was driven mad through the excruciating torture that she had experienced, both physically and mentally. And was and the following and when they had recovered her and tried to like nurse her back to life and back to health, she literally she went insane and died from insanity. Like
Hmm.
it wasn't just a wound. Like the wounds were bad. The wounds were severe, obviously, and those probably would have killed any normal person. But she survived the wounds, but died from the insanity of what she went through.
Sounds like
And like,
someone has never been to Nagaroth.
I was gonna say that sounds like a typical Tuesday in Nagaroth.
yeah,
Indeed.
I mean, what's really funny is the forest was giving them warnings. Like from the Elves perspective, this is horrifying. But from the Elves perspective, from the forest perspective, this is them giving them chances. Because again, the first group, none of them died; they just disappeared, and it's implied slash confirmed that those who disappeared are basically like they got caught in the Vex game network from Destiny, where like you could like because of how time works, you could just walk off the path and be walking for like maybe 5 minutes before you end up in a clearing full of in a wood elf community in a fully developed Azurite community, and it's been 2,000 years since you got lost in the forest, and you've just been wandering trying to find your place in time when the forest wants you to get out. So like it's generally like the first group got the most peaceful resolution. Like yeah, some of them were like starving, but like none of them died. They just like those that didn't those disappeared. They survived. The second group fully disappeared and probably went through the same fate or just outright were killed. And the third one was them being like, hey, you know what? Fuck it. Kill them all except one. We're fucking sending a message.
By the third time, it's just like I wasn't asking.
That's really what it is. Like, don't fucking come back in our forest. Like, what didn't you get about the first time when your soldiers said they were walking for weeks and it's only been 2 minutes? Like, what made you think this was a safe place that we wanted you here? But unfortunately, following the Sundering, which was, Malekith trying to become the Phoenix King, this like Uthman fell into a civil war. Like Nagarite and I think the East Coast all fell, not the East Coast, the West Coast fell into civil war, right? And those basically those like seceded from Uthman's like empire effectively for the entire Sundering period. But the same thing occurred in Elfan Aryan, where a bunch of these like communities and cities and like primitive kingdoms that are forming in the new world, and I guess in the old world rather, were divided. Like, no, okay, Uthman, but they weren't divided on succession. Like, they weren't divided on whether or not Malekith should be the Phoenix King. Like, to a point, a lot of them did recognize that Malekith was probably a better king than, not Finnabar. Finnabar's the newest one. Not Keldor the First. No, Keldor Dragon Tamer. Whoever the Phoenix King was that Malekith poisoned, can't remember his name off the top of my head. Belshazzar? I think it was Belshazzar. Um, Regardless, like they recognized Malekith was probably a superior leader, but they were more divided on the more important fact: do they get involved? Like these guys are a continent away; they are an ocean away. Do they return to Uthwan either to support Malekith, fight against him, and establish a new lineage, or do they just stay on the old world just or and to continue and do they fight there? Like there were points where some elven communities on the old world were on the brink of going to war with each other because they opposed who the current Phoenix King was on Uthwan. But then they kind of realized that if they're gonna fight that war, they should go to Uthwan to fight that war. Like why are they fighting that war here when the conflict's over there kind of thing? And so this actually led to basically a migration of some of the older generation elves and settlers of the old world to actually go back to Uthwan. So you had like a migration of many of the old, basically imagine if all the boomers left. That's basically what happened.
I'm still stuck on
And
them
then there
wandering
was
off in
peace
the
on Earth.
forest and disappearing. Imagine, right, you just wander around, you finally get out of the forest, and you're in fucking Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, basically.
You just walk up. Oh, good day, Kim. You are an elf, yes? And you're like, what the fuck's an elf?
Well, actually, in the end times, there was some lore about the Wood Elves in Bretonia potentially making the Tolkien universe, like potentially making the Lord of the Rings universe, because there was a point where where the elves and Bretonian knights might have created a pocket universe realm thing like the Age of Sigmar realms, where they could start over. But a bunch of orcs and dwarves also found their way there and some other stuff. I can't exactly remember, but I'm pretty sure that Pock universe like died in quotation marks.
Well, they had to do something, otherwise Tolkien Estate would have slapped him with a nice big old happy. Hey, Goofy, lawsuit.
Yeah, that was a weird piece of end times lore. It was like they could have did something pretty cool with that. Like I kind of thought that there was gonna be lore about Earth. Like our Earth was the realm that survived, but they just never did that because they're stupid. Um,
Honestly, imagine if they enchanted their forests to be resistant against giant fucking rocks. If
I mean,
only they did that.
that'd probably be a better idea. So yeah, you basically had all the boomer elves going back to Uthwan to basically like fight that war. This meant that all the new age elves, all the younger, more hipster elves stayed on the old world. And like I'm kind of joking, but I'm kind of being serious. Like that's kind of what it was. Like again, the elves because they live so long, they have generations within themselves. Imagine if all the older generations left and all the newer generations, the ones that didn't want to take part in Malekith's war, who didn't want to be involved in the politics of Uthwan, they stayed behind. and they almost had their own version of the War for Independence, basically. Because imagine if Uthwan was like Britain, like the British Empire. The old world, despite it being, in Europe, was functioning very similar to like the pre-United States, where a number of these kingdoms were wondering if they should even be like subservient to Uthwan and pay taxes to Uthwan, and even accept the current Phoenix King as their king and their ruler. Right? They were having that kind of political crisis over there. Um, Luckily, Malekith was banished to Negron, where he fucking belongs, fucking asshole. When he turns evil, anyway, he's okay when he's
Watch your mouth.
fuck. You don't like him any more than I do.
Says the Drugi that keeps him
Yes,
at
but
arm's
I
length.
must vouch for my kin.
Yeah, I know. If you say anything, he'll probably skin you and then fucking send you out to the cold to walk home. And that's if he's generous.
I was gonna say that just sounds like a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
Do you know how hard it is to find new skin?
Oh
easy.
God.
I don't know. Talk to your buddy Conrad Kurz.
Especially none that matches my gorgeous complexion.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you don't actually. Yeah, you really took a fucking page out of Bolton's fucking book and just bolt on your own skin, don't you?
It's happened more than once.
Yeah, I know.
Honestly, getting it
Actually,
all to match is a struggle.
you'd think you would skin just one person and use their skin, not fucking 17.
Okay, but you skin one, it doesn't really grow back.
Compelling point, compelling point. But so yeah, you had that incision, you had that issue, which then led to the old world elves kind of just having to temporarily accept the fact that they were still going to be on, like they couldn't fight the war for independence. They couldn't fight their war for independence just yet because Uthwan had just finally started to restabilize itself. Up until Malekith's false flag attack led to the War of the Beard. At which point, as you could imagine, the dwarves and elves went to war with each other. Here's the problem. The dwarves live in the Grey Mountains and in Carrigate Peaks and the whole mountain range to the east of the Empire and the east of Bretonia. The problem is that to the west of Bretonia, positioned directly between Uthwan and the dwarves, is all of the lands belonging to the old world elves. So these people that were already considering their independence, considering their place in the political schemes of Uthwan, now had their lands becoming a fucking war zone between two different factions. And they were given the choice. They could either leave the old world, like leave Elfin Aryan and return to Uthon where they would be protected, take up arms and join the militia guard of Uthwan in pushing back the elves, in pushing back the dwarves rather, or they could just deal with it themselves. Like, hey, if you aren't gonna help us fight, either go home or you're on your own. And for a lot of elves, this was the last straw. They basically were like, hey, you know what? Fuck you, we're out. We'd rather be in the fucking forest where we get lost for fucking 3 years than be fighting this war. Because that's what it was. You were basically caught in the crossfire of two different armies. And your option was either to join or run away. So a lot of elves chose to just go deeper into the forest, so deep that the war wouldn't affect them. Even if that meant they had to face whatever the fuck was in that forest, that was probably better than the fucking elves and dwarf war for the beard thing going on.
Yeah, they all think
And
that until they face the Forest Diddy Party.
yeah, yeah, yes. Especially fucking the moment Orion fucking wakes up and it's a fucking orgy of blood and everything else. Like fucking we must repay all the life that we sow this year by committing mass murder in every direction for the next 3 months.
Yeah,
That's
this is
just
why we don't
that.
let
I'm
trees run Congress.
That's just that. Orion's been caught with not with 9,000 bottles of tree sap oil.
Oh God. The worst part is he's also a god of fertility. Fucking Christ. Oh my god, they're burning down the Oak of Ages. Why are they burning down the Oak of Ages? What's hidden there?
Release the Orion files.
Release the Orion files. Oh my god, they went to Orion's tree.
Oh no! Oh no!
Was Carl Franz at Orion's tree? Find out now.
The answer is no.
No, he would not be.
Literally not
But-
even like considered, like not even considered like a portion of his great great grandfather's ball sack.
The funniest part, though, is you know for a fact that there would be some sort of Empire brand, like anti Carl Franz news thing that would still push that narrative.
Oh, absolutely.
Carl Franz wasn't seen in Altdorf in 3 days. He died.
Isn't he the dude on the fucking Griffin?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God. Was Lou and Leoncar at Orion's tree? Oh, all right. So yes, fucking Orion's his own character. Well, Orion needs his own episode to be completely fair. But this is the point where I mentioned earlier that the tree spirits would move the forest to make the dwarves attack. Like the dwarves attack random elf villages because it was like, hey, these dwarves are gonna move through the forest and cut down a bunch of trees they want, and then like just go to fight the elves somewhere else. Well, why don't we make them fight the elves that we have in our forest and help and have them push the elves out or have them push the dwarves out? And this actually led to a really strong bond where the elves basically pulled a Vietnam War on both the elves and the dwarves. Like there are points in the lore where like during this period of the War of the Beard where entire dwarf platoon like regiments would be hailed with arrows from the forest and they would not be able to see where those arrows came from before a second volley would follow up and finish them off. Like if you survived the first volley, you wouldn't see where it came from and you definitely wouldn't see the second volley.
I had an uncle that said he was in Athelnam. He said something about the trees and the bushes moving. Well, I guess there is credence to that.
They're the trees. They are the fucking trees.
They're in the trees. What do the trees mean, Mason? Oh my god. I heard the trees talking.
Can you tell, dear listeners, we no longer have any brain cells to share?
When you hear the trees speak in Uthwanese, you better start. Oh my god. Anyway, following the War of the Beard, though, the dwarves won the War of the Beard, and one of the stipulations was that all elves needed to leave the old world. So, like they left the old world's continent, but they would still set up on islands off the coast. Any that didn't would basically suffer the wrath and retribution of the dwarves, and would not be able to be granted any help or assistance from Uthwan. Basically, we want a full-on exodus of all elves from the mainland coast of the old world. Any who stay, we're going to wipe them out, and you are not allowed to protect them. And the event took 10 years. The dwarves gave the elves 10 years to get every single elf off the mainland coast. Any that stayed behind were basically doomed. Many more of those elves, again, who wanted that independence to just go deeper into the fucking forest. Eventually, however, this would lead to the seven kindreds. Basically, the seven kindreds are the last seven elven communities to stay on the old world. And these seven communities would all find their way into the heart of Athel-Loren. And over the course of basically the subsequent centuries following the War of the Beard, actually interact with each other, intermingle, cooperate, and trade. And this is where they would actually start to become their own group, their own culture, kind of separate from the high elves, and especially from the dark elves, and where they would actually start to um, engage with the forest itself. And actually, many of their wizards, many of those many elven sorcerers, would actually find their way into the Oak of Ages, where they would actually study its powers, and through the guidance of many of the tree lords, would go on to actually begin to rediscover those aspects that were lost in Avalon, actually form their own contract with the force of Athaloran. And this is where their philosophy comes from. This is where their belief comes from. Because just like with the babies, life had to repay life. And so these elves, these seven kindred who would become the 13 glades, they are basically the price that Asteriel paid for her children's lives. And every single one of them would set up in a glade across Athaloran, and then others would obviously propagate across the other locations across the known world. But their main philosophy, like I said, is the cyclical life and death. And one of the reasons why they act the way they do is specifically because, okay, I'll give an example that they've given in the army book, which is for you, you might see the wood elves as confusing, as unable to understand them. But for the wood elves, they almost need to balance every action on a knife's edge. Because for a wood elf, allowing a person to wander through their forest is in a way a disturbance. The best way to put it is by walking through the forest, you are taking something from the forest. You are effectively, and like maybe you might not see it as I'm literally just walking through the forest, but you are taking space from that forest. You are taking something from the forest. You are using the forest to travel somewhere. You were traveling through the forest to reach somewhere. You're taking something from it in that way, even if it's not something physical, it's something just conceptual. The forest needs to be repaid from that. And that's why the high elves need, not high elves, the Azrai need to decide between saving a person, letting a person or group of people walk through their forest. Because if they do, that means that they have to, at some point, repay that life that they've allowed to pass through the forest. That can either mean they need to sacrifice themselves at some point for the propagation of the life of the forest, or they need to at some point repay that same number of life that they saved with death, with an equal number of death from outsiders, because
I
the
really
forest
think
needs to be
that
repaid.
they just need to make a nice iron glove and just bitch slap every tree that starts spouting this stupid shit.
Just sounds like the dwarves didn't cut down enough trees during the War of the Beard.
Fuck, I feel like making more long ships.
You guys, the reason Dirthu's fucking depressed.
Good.
Good.
Fucking Orion should have killed you guys. Fucking
I ain't going to
Orion's either
know
fighting
Orion's
or fucking
treehouse.
right now. I hope he was fighting you guys. But that is their philosophy. It's the idea that like I can save, like if I save someone, I'm gonna have to repay that with the death to the Great Forest. And that's why people find them so confusing. It's also why to a lot of races, even other elves, they find the Azrai I don't want to describe them really
Contemptibly
well.
stupid.
Not stupid. There's a point where like Elven charisma, we'll say, doesn't stick to the Azrai. Like the Azrai are very not blunt, but they take things very face value, and they are very forgiving. Like you could lie to them, and as long as you do what they expect you to, they'll easily forgive you. Like, let's say, for example, our buddy Gerald here, he came up to a wood elf and he was like, I will not cut down your tree. But like they know you're gonna cut down the tree. They're not gonna be pissed off that you lied. They're gonna be pissed off you cut down the tree, but they're not gonna be mad at you for lying. And to a point, the wood elves are just like this, are similar to everyone else, where they will speak in such a way that it sounds one way, but the meaning could be entirely different. Like let's say you fell down, right? Like you just tripped in the forest, a tree, you've tripped on a fucking branch, right? A wood elf can come up to you and say that you're like, let's say you're in pain, right? Oh, a wood elf could offer you their hand and be like, and they'll say, "Here, let me take care of the pain for you." And you might think, "Oh, they're gonna help me," but they're just gonna fucking slit your throat so the pain doesn't affect you anymore. Because they will talk in that way. They will talk in such a way that it's that one that it could sound in one way as the promise of a good thing, but it could be a veiled threat in another. They could say something in a threatening manner to you, but it could be a compliment that you don't even comprehend. Like they'll say something, like they might talk to a dwarf because they have, and they might say, "You are like," to put like, let's give an example, right? Let's say in Azra, I was looking at you, like, say, "You are a dangerous little fuck." Like that sounds like a threaten, like that sounds like an insult. But to
Damn
the wood
straight.
but to the wood elf, that's them acknowledging your competency. Like you're a dangerous little fuck. That's them being like,
Wow.
you are dangerous. You're little. You're probably gonna fuck someone up. To them, like it sounds like an insult. To some, it can sound like an insult, but to them, it's a fucking compliment.
This just in. A high elf figures out that the wood elves are contemptible liars.
Additionally, the wood elves, oh, because of how forgiving, the time wants to say they're forgiving, they are definitely not fucking forgiving. Because the wood elves, they don't place value in like the truth of your words. They value more the truth of your actions. So again, let's say a wood elf went to jail and was like, "Will you cut down trees?" And Gerald said, "I probably will. I probably will cut down some trees." Yeah. And the wood elf's upset by him, but he appreciates his honesty. But then Gerald goes on to not cut down any trees. Well, that would come off as a lie to the wood elf. But that's just your words. Like your words possess less value than their actions. And his actions are saying that he's not cutting down the trees. Therefore, even though he lied to me, I am viewing his actions as a higher value. So you always need to look at how a wood elf acts, not what they say, because they could easily be giving you a two-faced compliment you not even fucking realize.
Correct. Watch the contemptible creature, for it will mislead you.
Fuck off.
What
Every
would elf
time you
hurt
talk
you?
about their dual nature, all it sounds to me like is they're fucking liars.
I mean, I'm getting that too, but what would elf hurt you?
All of them, by continuing to live, causes me pain. I liked it when it was simpler. High elves and us. And now they're these chuckle fucks.
Oh my goodness. I mean, you are correct. These guys just wish they were as cool as us. Oh,
Remember the
I should
time,
also
the
go
time
ahead.
of hateful peace? I remember those times. Those were wonderful.
Hateful peace. Yes, quiet seething and molding and kind of Cold War. Oh, I should also mention, because Athalorian is kind of magic forest. On some occasions when a wood elf dies, they'll be buried in the lands, right? And they actually have Wraithguard. Like they have like 40k style Wraithguard as trees. Like on more than one occasion, a forest spirit will be formed from a tree, and a number of elves will, Azrai will notice that those specific spirits or dryads or whatever they are bear striking resemblances to people they once known, and those spirits will actually make a concerted effort to protect people that they remember in their past life. And not only that, but it doesn't just come out to forest spirits. The forest itself will actually become defensive. Like if let's say a bunch of people were killed by dwarves or whatever, and then that community was going to be attacked by dwarves, an entire army of animals might just stampede into the dwarves seemingly out of nowhere. the ground might become needlessly muddy following a rainstorm. Like very similar to Lustria becoming aggressive just naturally. The forest itself will almost come to life and almost like a Gestalt consciousness will fight and defend and become very protective of those that are inside it. The problem though is that in order to have this protection, you have to agree to all the conditions, stipulations, and basically like eldritch contracts that the
Just as
forest
bad as
expects of
Apple.
you.
All the terms and conditions.
Yeah. So like you'll die, but you'll live on inside the forest and probably be able to possess a fucking squirrel or something, or like become a fucking tree person
I'd
and
rather
like be
die.
able or rather die.
Yeah,
But
rather
you
than
have
having
to
come sap in Orion's treehouse.
oh, God. Actually, there's one fucking passage in the art book that talks about a harem of dryads consorting with a tree lord.
Allegations are not being beaten this day.
No, they aren't. It was a weird fucking. I skipped that part. I fucking just did not read. I was like, nope, nope, nope. The second you say a harem of dryads and a tree lord, I'm fucking just gonna.
Hell of a
I'm
party.
good.
Turns out they're just skilled arborists.
Fuck
They're
off.
just helping him with a haircut. That's all.
Okay. But are there any? Oh, I should really specify that there are no major events for the Wood Elves because of how they calculate time and history outside of like really notable characters and like events like the end times. Um, their history very much is just like very cyclical. Very rarely do they leave their forest because it gives them everything they need outside of like what they need to grab. And if a wood elf ever does leave their forest to fight, and if they ever do die, they will often bring the body back to be laid to rest inside the great forest, just to like make sure that in their mind the forest nurtured them and got them to that point where they would die. It's only fair for them to bring that back to the forest to repay its debt. And if you don't, the forest will probably become the forest IRS and take that back because that is also a very real possibility. Like there's Bretonian castles that have mysteriously vanished. Like in the like imagine building a castle, right? And then you leave and you come back and it's an overgrowth. And you're like, what happened? And the entire thing is just gone. Everyone in there gone. Building gone, foundations gone, everything gone. Because the forest didn't want you there. You were not allowed. So you are just gone. Where are you? I don't know. Where am I? Maybe I'm in the past where we didn't build a fortress yet. I don't know. But you aren't here.
He chose poorly.
But are there any questions? Because I think we're getting to the point we're going to wrap it up. Because I think I've covered their origins really well. We can definitely do characters at some point, including Ariel and Orion, because they're definitely a two-parter thing. They're definitely going to be like a duo thing. They are intrinsically related, and we got to cover more of Orion's trees allegations. Was Grimgor
Tree
Ironhide
truce.
at Orion's tree? I want a list of everyone who was at Orion's tree. I want the Orion list.
Release
Oh,
the
gosh.
Orion list. But now
Honestly,
it's
if anyone had a list, it would be the people at Marienburg. Fuck Marienburg. No, actually no, probably wouldn't be Marienburg. Marienburg's okay, I guess.
Fuck
Would have
Marienberg
an
and those
island.
fish-eating bastards.
Did best. You know what? We gotta do Marienburg at some point. They're fucking cool. They are pretty cool.
It's stupid.
They're not stupid. They're just independent from the Empire, which I still don't understand how that fucking happened. That was the dumbest fucking thing ever. Yes, a port city that generates infinite amounts of money. Oh, you want to be independent? Fucking go ahead.
It's because Tilia is right across the pond, and they have more than enough money to buy out their entire country of mercenaries.
Honestly, like fucking, I don't see why Tilly doesn't just get invaded by the Empire. Oh, wait, hang on a second. There, I did not endorse. I did not. Hang on. I take it back.
I'm all
Take it
for
back.
it.
I take it back. No,
We
the
can
Empire
discuss
should not
rates.
invade Tilia. No, hang on. Hang on. That sounds bad when I think about that in historical context.
Nonsense. We can discuss rates. Come on, Marienburg.
Oh God. Gerald, do you have any thoughts, questions, or opinions on our boys, the Wood Elves? Any questions? Anything on their philosophy so far?
Not well, but I guess I understand why why things went south with that one Wood Elf maiden I was talking to a while back, but that's neither here nor there. So
Yes, she was into trees.
too much, but
Like rocks.
but no, it pretty much just kind of reaffirms the very Lothlorien Tolkien-esque elves that I kind of had the image of in my mind, and so it's pretty cool to learn about that. Know thy enemy and all that stuff. So
Know thy enemy. Oh, I should also mention they're cannibals.
okay, definitely know thy enemy.
That's right. They eat beards too. Beware.
They eat beer. They eat anything. Fucking like they are the Florida man. They are the Florida man. Come out with the Catachan man.
They are as desperate. They're like
I see.
cockroaches.
Like pictures.
Oh, but since we're kind of running a little bit, actually quite a bit late, I think we'll just cut the. We'll save all shout outs and stuff for the next little thing. We did have something special we wanted to do, but that's gonna have to wait until next time as well. I don't know. Is there any closing remarks from anybody here in the tavern?
I don't like trees. The trees can go to hell.
I don't
Very
like
well said.
Burn more
They're tall
trees.
and sticky and they grow everywhere.
Burn
Oh.
more charcoal. Don't believe what they say about ruining the planet. Burn more charcoal. Burn more
Burn more charcoal.
Install wood stoves in homes to cook.
All right, and just remember, folks, release the Orion files.